Hi, I'm Dorothy Koomson. My 14th book, The Brighton Mermaid, is going to be published on the 17th of May, and I'm going to read an extract from it. I hope you'll enjoy it. This is from the beginning of the book, so we find out who the Brighton Mermaid is. 1993. Nell. Saturday, 26th June. Maybe she's asleep, I said to my best friend Jude. We were both staring at her. She looked so soft, lying there on the top of the pebbles, half in, half out of the water, her face serene. Even with the foamy tide constantly nudging at her, trying to get her to wake up, she was still, tranquil, lifeless. "She's not asleep," Jude said. Her voice was stern, angry almost, as though she couldn't believe I was being so stupid. "I know she's not asleep," I replied. "But if I pretended to sleep, then she's not the other thing." I couldn't bear for her to be the other thing, and for me to be standing there in front of her when she was the other thing. "She's not asleep," Jude repeated, gentler this time. She's not asleep." We both stood and stared. From the promenade, I'd spotted her down on the beach, the light of the almost full moon shining down on her, and said we should go to check if she was all right. Jude had wanted us to keep going. Getting back to her house after we'd sneaked out was going to be tricky enough without getting back even later than 3 a.m. But I'd insisted we check. What if she's twisted her ankle and couldn't get up? How would we feel leaving someone who was hurt and alone like that? What if she's drunk and has fallen asleep on the beach when the tide was out and is now too drunk to wake up and pull herself out of the water? How would we live with ourselves if we read in the paper in the morning that she'd been washed out to sea and had drowned? Jude had rolled her eyes out at me, had reminded me in an angry whisper that even though our mums were at work, they were both nurses on night duty, her dad was at home asleep and could wake up any minute now and find us gone. He'd call my dad and then we'd be for it. She'd grumbled this while going towards the stone steps that led to the beach. She was all talk, was Jude. She wouldn't leave someone who was hurt. She'd want to help just as much as I would. It wasn't until we got nearer, close enough to be able to count the breaths that weren't going in and out of her chest, that we could see what the real situation was. And I said that thing about her being asleep. I'll go and call the police," Jude said. She didn't even give me a chance to say I would do it before she was gone, crunching the pebbles underfoot as she tried to get away as fast as possible. Alone, I felt foolish and scared at the same time. This wasn't meant to turn out this way. We were meant to come to the beach and help a drunk lady and then sneak back to Jude's house. I wasn't supposed to be standing next to someone who was asleep but not. She must be cold, I thought suddenly. Her vest top was soaked through and stuck to her body like a second clinging skin. Her denim skirt, which didn't quite reach down to her knees, was also wringing wet. "I wish I had a blanket that I could pull over you," I silently said to her. "If I had a blanket, I'd do my best to keep you warm." It was summer, but not that warm. I wasn't sure why she was only wearing a vest, skirt, and no shoes. Maybe, I thought, her shoes and jumper have already been washed out to sea. I leant forwards to have another look at her. I wanted to make her feel more comfortable, to move her head from resting on her left arm at an awkward angle, and stop her face from being pushed into the dozens and dozens of bracelets she wore on her arm. Thin metal ones, bright plastic ones, wood ones, black rubbery ones. They stretched from her wrist to her elbow. Some of those not visible because of the way her head rested. I wanted to gently move her head off her arm and lay it on my rolled up jacket. I didn't dare touch her though. I didn't dare move any nearer, let alone touch her. Her other arm, the right one, was thrown out to the side, as if it had flopped there when she'd fallen asleep. That arm had one slender silver charm bracelet, hung with lots of silver figures. The arm's real decoration, though, was the elegant and detailed tattoo of a mermaid. My eyes wouldn't leave the tattoo, which was so clear in the moonlight. Usually when I saw tattoos, they were a faded greeny blue, etched into peach or white skin. But this one was on a girl with the same shade skin as me. Deep black ink had artistically been used to stain and adorn most of her inner forearm. I leant a little more forwards, not wanting to get too close, but fascinated enough to want to have a better look. It was truly beautiful, so incredibly detailed it looked like it had been carefully inscribed onto paper, not rendered on skin. I could see every curl of the mermaid's short, thick, black afro hair. I could make out the tiny squares of light in her pupils. I could count every one of the individually etched scales on her tail, and I could see droplets of water glistening on the bodice, shaped of green seaweed that covered her torso. The mermaid sat on a craggy grey rock, her hands demurely crossed in her lap, smiling at anyone who cared to look at her. I couldn't stop staring at her. She was mythical, she was a picture, but she was also like a siren at whom I couldn't stop staring. In the waters beneath the mermaid's rock, there were 3 words in swirling, watery script. I am Brighton.